is not a very important or very sequence in a development process. Okay, understanding of data is very is the core to the success of any AI model. Now, how do you understand the data? So the process that are involved in understanding the data is a very important process is pre-processing of the data. Now, what do you mean by the term pre-processing? Pre-processing means when you are processing the data, or you are in a way making your data ready for model. Okay, that means you are looking to the every aspect of the data by visualization. Okay, just trying to understand whether your data is a linear data. Linear means when they are correlated to each other, or there is a non-linearity in the data. You also understand about if there are certain duplicate values, or if they are missing values, or if if there is some error in the data. Okay, and if there are some values which do not fall within a certain range. Yes, so if all these things are there, these things in a data basically increases, they do two things. One, they increase the volume of the data. Yeah, but that increase in the volume or only, okay, the increase in the volume only comes with a cost. Cost means it increases the computational cost of your system, and also raising to the computational, which needs more computational power. Okay, the efficiency. Second part is this data, whether it's an error data, whether it's a duplicate data, whether it's a missing data, whether it's an NaN value, whatever it is. Yes, they're just increasing the volume, but they are not adding to any meaningful information that can be drawn from these data points and model, and it can be used to train the model. So basically, when you say whether it's a useful data or unuseful data for your model, so you will categorize it as a unuseful data. You are not saying that this is not a data. Obviously it is a data, but for your model, for your sake of model, it is not useful. It is not adding any informational value to your model. So why just to hang on this data and increase your cost? Okay, so what we do, we process the data. That is known as your pre-processing. And to pre-process the data, how do we first come to know? Yes, now to pre-process the data, we should know whether it's a having a duplicate value, error value, or etc. We first do the visualization part, where you use matplotlib library, as all of you know very well now. Using a scatter plot, you see the linearity. Linearity means how the data is related, whether that linearity means basically that if A is increasing, B is also increasing in a certain ratio. Yes, so that is what a linearity is. Okay, so like your A is 1 and B is 2, A is 2, B is 3, kind of thing. Means the increase is proportional to each other. That is what your linearity is. And during that, when you plot that graph, scatter plot gives you the linearity. Yes, whereas the histogram tells you the skewness of the data. The skewness means, students, the distribution, where the bins, as Sunita ma'am was also talking about, that the width of those bins. Okay, she used the word bins, if you remember it very clear. Okay, so if that distribution of the bin is not what you can say proper, if it is aligned towards one side of your axis, okay, that means the concentration of the entire data is towards one portion. That is known as your, what you can say, skewness, or you can say the dispersion. If anything is more toward left to the towards the midpoint of the data, you say the skewness value or the data is more concentrated. It's a left skew. That means the entire or the maximum data is concentrated towards the left side. If the data or your curve of the data, when you see into the histogram, if it is more towards the right of the median or the mid value, you say is a right skew. So all these things basically helps you understand about the nature of your data. Then box plot, all of you very well know what box plot does. So box plot basically is used to understand the distribution of the data across. Okay, how much data is in the range from 0 to 25%, then 25 to 50%, 50 to 75%, and 50 75% to the maximum value. The range between 25% to 75%, which is also your Q1. 25 is known as your first quartile, whereas a 75% is known as your third quartile. Something which is in between is known as 50% or 50%, or which is also known as your median. Now anything which is outside your minimum value and outside your maximum value, the range, you say these values are outside range, and they you term them as a, what you can say, a outlier, and such values needs to be eradicated or cleaned from your data set. Then you come to this notebook you did yesterday, erroneous data and missing. Okay, now see, now, since you are working with a data set, okay, so you need to first install certain libraries and packages. And these three libraries where we are what we are using is as matplotlib to, and all of you know this is to create or plot the graph. Plot means where you are plotting the graph. Pandas as PD. PD is your alias. Yes. Now, why we see when you type something like every time if you need to type pandas, so there are chances that there may be certain spelling errors, and it is time consuming also. So what we do, we write the alias. Alias is, you can say, just like your nickname, a short version of that. So pandas is represented by PD. Similarly, numpy is NP. Now pandas is a library in Python specially designed for Python, which actually helps in manipulating the data. Yes, that means you can manipulate the data, you can read the data and all those things, and here you create data frames. Whereas numpy or NP, which is, this is something which is known as your numerical Python, which is used for scientific analysis of the data. Yes, and here you create arrays, etc. Now, so first of all, what you do whenever you are, now this is a common process. Yes, you must have observed. Now you have done 2, 3 to 4 notebooks, that whenever you start any notebook, first you import, okay, your required set of libraries or this one. Now see, this is a process which, as you move through your model or through something, you know which library will be required. Okay, at the very in the beginning we don't know which all libraries will be required, so apart from some of the very common ones like pandas, matplotlib. If you are going for a data visualization, obviously you will require matplotlib or seaborn as a library. But pandas, obviously, if you are having this, you want to display the data, understand the data, okay, pandas will be required. So then what you do, apart from these, when you go for the model development, you go very specific. Then as you proceed, then you develop the model. So when you will be doing this model one, you will understand tomorrow how it gets proceeds. So once you have imported this library, then you talk about the erroneous data. So anyone who will like to put the details, what do you mean by the erroneous data, in the chat section? Quickly, I am giving you 10 seconds. What do you mean by the term erroneous data? Yes, any thoughts? Quickly, see, Sunita ma'am did it yesterday. I'm just quickly doing a recap over it. Yes, erroneous data. What is an erroneous data? So see, yeah, any thoughts? Wrong data maybe. Yes, Shubham? Absolutely. Now see, if you don't understand any word, just break it up. Error. The first word is erroneous. Erroneous is, that is, okay, error. So something which is wrong, which is not correct. Error means something which is not okay. There is some fault into it. There is some incorrectness into it. Yes. So and when you put it in this, so when you are collecting a data, yes, either the data is wrongly collected or it has been input wrongly in the data set. So what happens? Either the data is, when you are collecting the data, the collection, the acquisition is done incorrect way. Okay, or the data is corrected, but when you are feeding the data, okay, you are supposed to write 5, but by mistake you have put 3 or 4 or there's a 6. So that will make it incorrect. Yes or no? And such, and when this incorrect values goes into this, that becomes your this. Stesha Dave, if you just stop sending this message, yeah, I have already mentioned after this notebook we will be talking about the project. Yes, either you should be punctual when the what you can say, the instructions are being given. Okay, and don't just keep putting these messages when something is going. Have some patience. Yes, yeah, outliers are, yeah, it is outliers. I'm not saying outliers are what you can say erroneous data, they are the data points which are not lying within the range of your need. Yes, because they are outside the range. We will be coming to that shortly. So erroneous data, as you rightly mentioned, there is something that now this is nobody is saying that the erroneous data is not a data. Obviously it is a data, but the data which is incorrect and which is of no use to you people. Yes, so this is where that is what. But how? But if you have this data in your data, in AI, you have acquired such data, how you can clean, how you can refine. So this is just what is explained through an activity of price of a computer game. Yes. So let's assume that these are the name of the video, the computer games. Yes. These are the game price. Okay, and this is the number of people. Okay, now what you are trying to understand by plotting the graph over here, okay, that if they are they what is the trend, what is the pattern that is being shown over here? Are these prices of the computer games, okay, aligned with the number of people, or there is some, what you can say, incorrectness in the data? So what you do, you just do a, you are plotting a scatter plot over here. Okay, now number of people 0, what this, can anybody tell me what does this mean? 0 colon 5, what does this mean? 0 colon 5, what does this mean? Anyone? Number of people you are taking in the range from slicing. Yes, Hitesh. So what does that slicing mean? 0 to 1 5. 0 colon 5 is like 0 and 5 is the index. We will leave 1x. Absolutely. Yes, Kami. Absolutely. So we will start from the 0th index, but we will not include the 5th index, but we will 5th position. We will only consider till the 4th position. So number people. Yes, number people 0 to 5th. So can you tell me, yes, Vignashri, what all values will be considered? 0 to 5 number of people. What all values you will be considering over here? Can you name those values? 0 to 5. 0 colon 5 number of people. So what all values will be taken from this data? When you are taking number of people 0 colon 5, that means what? Which all index will be considered? 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5 and 15. Yes, not 8, because see, 1 is 0 index, 2 is 1, 5 is 2, 15 is 3, yes, and 8 is your 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 5, 15 and 18 will be considered. That is what this means. Okay. Similarly, when you come from game prices, so you will get the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 200. Yes, till 200 you will be considering it. Okay, so that means you are providing a kind of a I'll not call it a rate, but from where to where which index positions will be taken into consideration. When you are taking the number of people, what does this mean? 6 colon 8. 6 colon 8. Can you name number of people? Okay. 6, 8. That means which is on the 6th index and on the 7th index. You will not be considering the 8. And similarly, you are taking the game price for the same 6th and 8. Yes. This is 108. Okay. So 6th will be what? Game price. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So see, this is 6 and this is 7. Yes, this is 6 and this is 7. Similarly, I think this will be 6 and this will be 7. Yes. Now if you see here, now they have studied, they have seen these, you have seen these data very carefully, and what you see that when you're talking of game price, all these price are in some relationship. Yes, or they are exhibiting some kind of pattern. Yes, but when you're seeing these two price ranges, they are totally different. Yes, now 1000 it will be a total out of the context, and as all of us know, minus, no price will be in minus. Yes, have you ever currency in minus? No. Yes, Have you ever said that I bought this, what you can say, mobile for minus this one? No. So that means these are something which are error. These are something which do not lies within our range, and there is some error into the data which are increasing the volume, but they are not giving certain information. Similarly, if you see the number of people over here, so it is 1 and 0.5. Now this 1 is fine. This one is fine, but what about this 0.5? Okay, a person count cannot be in 0.5. We don't count half person, do we? No. So I think so that means there is some mistake in writing or in collection of this data, and that is what they have taken into count over here. Now what they have taken, they want to like distinguish this data on the graph in a different color. So that way C is equal to G. G stands for what? If C means color, so G will be what? RGB, green, absolutely sure. And similarly, R will be for red. And when you plot, so then you give your labels also. X label will be number of people. That means on X axis you are giving number of people, and Y axis you are taking the cost. And when you show PLD dot show is a function that you write, so you will get something like this. Yes. Now when you are seeing this, yes. So from here you can see that this two red spot, this red spot and this red spot, these are something which are telling you some different story. Yes. Now if you see this, this is totally, you can make it out from this that yes, this point is not within the range, and this point it is giving you an idea that it cannot be, number of people cannot be like in negative also. Yes. So what, so from this is what you can gain a very clear indication that this is something that which all data points are required for you to process, and which all are the data points which are not correct, which needs to be replaced. Okay. So if you see over here, they have explained it very nicely. Students, you need to have this habit of first point in red, it is erroneous because the price is negative and the number of people who like the game is 0 and 1. Yes. Is it not possible for a game to be sold at a negative price? And it is not also not possible to have a fraction of a person lining the game. Okay, the number of people should be a whole number. For the second point in red is erroneous because the computer game do not cost as much as 1000 USD. Okay, so this is how this basically graph, when you visualize the graph, helps you draw a clean picture or visualize the data points, take you some important decision. Once you have done that, yes, then if you want to game, price refers to this. Okay, now if you want to create some linearity, if you want to get certain linearity into it, okay, so how can you do it? Okay, so what you do, game price you know is this. So you now what you do, you don't consider this 1000 and this one. Okay, similarly you are not considering 1 and 0.5. Okay, and remaining data you are considering game price and this. Okay, so now you what, again you are doing the same way, you are going for the, what you can say, plotting the scatter plot, just to see if there is certain relationship, what is the pattern that this is showing between the number of people and the price. Is there any relationship between that exists between how many people are using that computer, and accordingly what will be the price of this one. Okay, that means the popularity of quotient that you are trying to find. So after you plot the graph, so you find that this is something like this. Okay, now in this, if you see here, yes, you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 points are there, which are basically showing a pattern. And what is that pattern? That they are collinear. Collinear means that as the number of persons are increasing, the cost of the computer game is also increasing. But there is one point, this 200, which is again like what you can say is out of range, you can say, or which is not coming into this linearity part. Rest all the other points you can see that yes, absolutely, Ritvik, that is directly proportional. As the number of people are increasing. If you say it's 1, so it will be something like what? You can take it 10 or something. 2, it is something like 20. If it is what, 5, it is something close like 50 or something. So that means as the popularity of the game is increasing, okay, or as the number of people are using a particular computer game, the cost is also a direct reflection on that. Yes. So once you see that, so that is, there is a linear relationship between the price of the game and the number of people who like the game. Okay, the price of the game is higher when more people like the game. So that means it's a simple economics, need and need basis. If something which is more in demand, the cost will be more. Yes. Now, do you notice that a point does not seem now here, but this point is not fitting into this? What does this mean? Okay, so here, as the game price number of people who like the game to be realistic, it is likely that to be an outlier instead of an erroneous data. To recall, an outlier may not be a wrong data. Okay, that's why it is wrong to say outlier means it's an erroneous data. No, it's not, but something which is not lying within the range. In this case, it could just be a very expensive game that only 12 people like. Yes, because if you see here, whatever the corresponding people, 12 and is more than 200. So that means it's a very expensive game where the people are only less number of people are liking. So what can we do to remove such outlier, or we can keep the outlier? Now this is something which a cautious, what you can say, decision needs to be made. Okay, if you have a sufficient data points, okay, if your data site, if your sample size is quite enough, quite good, quite big, you can, okay, replace this data point. Or okay, if you have sufficient data points or can collect more points to replace our outlier, we can remove the outlier from the data set. Okay, it's simple. If the data set is huge, the collected data set is huge, so you have this liberty, or you can say the flexibility to remove the outlier. Or in other words, if you want, if you have this, what you can say, option available to collect more data, so that you can remove this data, there won't be any difference on the sample size of the data set, so you can do that. Okay, so there is, as such, as they have correctly mentioned, there is no strict rule to decide if outliers should be removed. However, but if outliers make up the majority of your data set, then you should not be removing them, but instead try to collect more data that are really outliers. Okay, now in this, how they are doing it. Okay, so see, this what they have done here. They have not considering that 200, and then they have plot. So now they are getting this a linear, what you can say, this one. So that is what they are trying to tell students, that it is not that always you have to remove the outliers, but if you have the option that you can collect more data, okay, so that the volume of the data or the sample size of the data does not get affected, then you take the opportunity to remove that outlier, and then you come back. Now to remove the outlier, there are different techniques. Okay, when you will go do a bit of research, there is something known as Z score. Okay, or there is something known as interquartile range. All of you know what are interquartile IQR or interquartile range is. Yes, so you use this interquartile range to make your model more robust and get relief of all these, what you can say, outliers. So this is how you check for the outliers. Now if you want to handle the, yes, erroneous data, yes, when you, if you want to handle the erroneous data, what you do now here, what they have done, if you remember in the data set that I have provided you two types of data set. One is a student score 1 and one is a student score 2. Yes, so here they are first using the student score 1. Okay, now in this, using this file data set student score 1, you will be understanding how you can handle the erroneous data. So what you do, first you obviously upload the data set, okay, using the read.underscore.csv thing, and then you do these two things. You find the, you read the data by putting the, you can say, function dot head, and dot info will give you what type of data it is. Okay, whether it's an integer, whether it's a float value, whatever. So once you have uploaded the data, okay, and you put the dot head, it will give you the first 5 rows. See, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this actually helps you to take a glimpse into how many columns, okay, basically are there. Columns means how many labels or features or attributes your data contains, because your data number of rows could be anything, because that is the volumetric part. Volumetric means that is the number of data sample points you have. It could be in thousands also, in 100 also. But labels means how many features, how many attributes that data has, that can also only be seen through this dot head function. So dot head function will give you the first 5 rows. As you can see over here, there are 5 columns: student number, hours spent studying in a day, mathematics score, English score, and a science score. So you know that in your data set there are 5 columns, okay, and this is the first 5. So students, one simple question Sunita ma'am also have explained is, if I want to check the last 5 rows, okay, if you want to check the last 5 rows, what function I will be writing? How can I see the last 5 rows? Yes. So Karthik here, yes. So we will write tail, yes, dot tail function. So once you write dot tail, it will give me the last 5 rows. Okay, great, good. So that means all of you are practicing nicely. Okay, so once you have dot head will give you all these functions. Now, if you see the dot info function, or info means information. Yes, it will tell you more about the data. So see, these are the number of columns. You know there are 5 columns and non-null values. Okay, whether whether it contains any, what you can say, null value means, are there any non-zero values, okay, or not, and what is the type. So you can see it's an integer, it's an integer, it's an integer, but English and science scores are float. You can see for yourself, it is in decimal. English scores are in decimal. That's why it is giving the information. The type of numeric value is float. Here also it is float. But here, if you see, R and math scores are complete, full, or you can say absolute numbers. That is why it's saying it's a complete integer. Yes, and then it also talks about the memory, etc. So there are no non-null count is this one. Okay, and total data set 267, 267 entries are there. Yes, so that means it is almost a clean data set you have. Okay, now we know that the name and all these things. Now what we do, we want to understand the statistical part of this data. Now statistics means, now this statistical viewpoint of the data helps us to understand, okay, that what is the mean, what is the standard deviation, in what direction or in what way the data is looking. So what we do to get the statistical point, we use this function dot describe. Okay, so now df, as all of you know, is the data frame or a variable in which you are storing the data. So you can write anything. They have just write df for data frame, because in pandas that is something you can write a b c d. You can write your own name, or you can write students data only. Means that is simply a data which is storing, sorry, a variable that is simply storing it. Okay, so df. So when you want to look into the details of the data, what is the statistical values that the data contains, then you write what you can say describe. And as soon as you write this function, print bracket df dot describe, or you can simply write df dot describe also, it will give you the same value. Okay, instead of putting up this, you can simply write this also, df dot describe, and close with this two. It will give you the same thing, okay, as the print values are being given. Okay, and then you run it, it will give you the same thing. So once you do this, guys, what you are seeing, it is giving the entire statistical, what you can say, information of the data. Count. Now see, count means what are the total volume of the data. There are 267 rows in the data. This is the mean value. Now mean means average. Yes. Now this average mean, it plays a very important role in the coming section of the notebook. You will get to know how these mean values are used. Okay. Now see, you can see here, this is mean value for students, which hardly plays any role. hours. 12 point, this is an average number of hours a student spent in a day studying. Yes, mathematics, the average score of the class is 48.474. The average score in English is 43.53. The average score in science is 38.79. Minimum value, okay, only one student. Now here you see there is something which may raise your eyebrows. Minus 10. Yes. Now can you express time in minus? Yes, no. So I think this is where so this is how, when you see the statistical value, it gives you the, what you say na, it gives you the, it will reflect, it will give you the mirror image of the data. So here, yes, absolutely. So here you see this minus 10 is something where which is raising some kind of alarm. When you see the minimum score of mathematics, it is again coming in minus. One can have the lowest score can be 0. It cannot be minus 40. Yes, so it is either it is wrongly fed, or it is, what you can say, something error into it. Similarly, if you see the English score and the science score, they are also talking in negative. So it's an error. So here you are getting into the details of the data, what kind of data it is. Similarly, if you see, okay, this is the 25% is the first quartile range, the 50th percent, that is a median, mid value, okay, and this is the 75th, the third quartile that you call it, and then the maximum values. So what is the total count of the data? 267. So the maximum value should be 267. That's correct. How? What is the maximum value? That means a child 40 hours they have put it in a study. But if you see the score in mathematics, okay, so if you see the score in mathematics, that is 175, and we know that maximum marks are is 100 only. You can have maximum as score as 100, not above that. So that means there is some error into it. Similarly, if you see for the English and your science score, there is also some error into it, as 144 and 128. No one can have anything greater than 100. Okay, so that means when you check this dot describe function, when we are using this dot describe function, it is telling us what the data is, uh, what are the values the data contain, or that means what is the, you can say, the inside story of the data. Okay, now hours in a day cannot be 40, obviously. Yes, it cannot be 40, that's why it will be an error. Yes, so so what kind of values it gives? It gives you the count, it gives you the average value. These are the statistical values that it will give you. Yes, this is your standard deviation. Okay, how much the your values are deviating from the mean value. Minimum value, this is the first quartile, 25%. Yes, this is 50th percent, means mid value, or the median, what we call. Okay, 75%, as in box plot you say the third quartile. Yes, and maximum means the maximum value. So these are the statistical values which, when you put dot describe function, will tell you more story or insights into your data. It will give you more insights into the data, that will help you decide how many values, what percentage of the values are correct, what percentage of values are having some error. So because see, when you are seeing a large data set, okay, like this is a small data set of 267 rows, but sometimes you will have rows, means like value data sample in 1000, okay, rows also. Now to, and manually going through each and every data, 1000 data points, is a very tedious and a very tough task. Yes or no? So that is where, to see the entire picture at a glimpse, what the data is, that is where this describe function is very, very useful. It gives you the glimpse of the entire data set, just by writing dot describe, by giving values to all these things. Now, if you see over here, you know that this entire student score data has 5 columns. Yes, student number, hours, mathematics, English, and science score. What are the corresponding values? Count means what are the total values. So since there are 267 students, so there are 267 number of hours for every student. 267 math score and 267 English and science scores. Okay, so that means this is all okay. Now, when you see the mean means the average value. All of you know how to calculate the mean or the average value. Yes, the total count divided by the total number. Okay, so this is 134 that is coming. Okay, this is your they have statistically they are calculated. So it is giving you something. Standard deviation, how much the deviation mean value, real value and the mean value, what is the standard deviation that is there. Now, what we are interested in minimum value and maximum value, because these are the 2 points coming to that issue. These are the 2 points which will actually help you to look into detail whether there are some error values or not. Yes. Now, in this case of scoring, student score, all of us know that in a day there are 24 hours, and maximum a student can study is there, you can say 12 hours a day or 15 hours a day maximum. Yes, because nobody can study 24 by 24 hours. Okay, and if there are 24 hours and a value which is coming above than 24, I think then there is some error in the data. Similarly, if any score, we know that the range of the score is 0 to 0 is minimum and 100 is maximum. Anything which is in between, it's a range. Yes, it's within the range, but something which is below 0 is not possible, because marks cannot be negative. Yes, and anything which is okay is also not possible, because the maximum marks are only 100. So when we see the minimum, okay, we see that okay, one, the number of count of student, obviously it will be one student only, that is the this one, but the maximum count will be 267 for the student, and that is perfectly fine. But when we see the hours, number of hours student studying in a day is minus 10 hours. We know time cannot be represented in minus. Yes, so that means this is something wrong. Minus 40, student cannot get minus 40 marks. Minus 36, minus 32, student cannot get these marks, lowest marks in negative. The lowest marks a student can get is 0. Similarly, when you go to this maximum range or the maximum statistical data, you find there are maximum 267. That is perfectly fine, because the total count is 267. So the maximum value is okay. But when you see the number of hours, it is showing 40 hours. That means there is some error in day. There are only 24 hours. A maximum a child can study 15 hours or 15 hours at the most. Yes, not 40 hours. 175, 154, 128. No, because maximum mark could be 100 only. Cannot be this. So looking into this statistical data, the insight that is being provided by dot describe function, you get to know that there are some error in my data. Now, how do you get what you can say fix this error? So what you do here, you take a variable, a new variable df2. Okay, in the df2, you take this df mathematical range is greater than 0. Yes, because your range of marks is 0 to 100 only. So df, so in this df2 variable which you have created a new variable df2, you store something df of this thing greater than 0, and similarly df3. Now df3 will be what? Of this variable, you will be taking the something which is less than 100, and then you will print df3, and similarly you will take the describe function for df3 to check okay what the minimum and maximum values are for mathematics are there, because you are just playing with the mathematics. Yes. Wait, I'll share this once again. Is the screen visible now? I hope the screen is visible now. Wait. Let me share. Now it's visible. Okay, thank you. I think something went wrong with the WebEx only. Okay. Now, what you have once you have done this, yes. So what you are seeing over here, once you have understood all these things, now you are trying to fix these errors. When you are trying to fix this error, what you do, you create a variable known as df. Okay, this df to use the original variable, that is where you have stored the data frame, that is your df. Okay, now this is df math. You are working with mathematical score to greater than z. Greater than 0. Okay, is it visible now? I hope it is visible now. Okay, okay, wait. I'm sharing it again. Hold on, guys. I'm sharing it again. Just to let me know if it is visible now. It's loading now. Now is it visible? Now is it visible? Hold on. I'm sharing it again. I don't know what is the issue over here. Just wait. Eh, Just give me 1 second. I hope it is visible now. Yes. Issue. Is it not visible yet? Nothing is visible, so your voice is breaking and the screen is just showing this one, no blank. Okay. Wait. Let me join again. There must be something wrong. Hello, am I audible now? Okay, thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Just let me know if screen is visible or not. Yes. Okay. I hope the screen is visible now. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for confirming, Hitesh. Okay. Is it not visible still? Some are saying yes. Some are saying no. What is the issue? Only the black screen. Is it visible now? Okay, so I think it is visible for everyone now. Great, thank you guys. Sorry for this hiccup. I don't know what happened. Okay, so now let's come back quickly to this before I start the ideation part. So see what we have done so far is, okay, we using this describe thing, we understood what the where the error lies in our data. Once we have understood, once we have recognized that part, what we do, we simply use this part giving a range that what would be the correct value for a mathematical score. Okay, so like for example, here you create a variable as df2. Okay, in that you store df and you write mathematical score greater than 0, because you know the minimum marks will be 0 and it should be less than 100. And then you do, and when you change describe df3, because this is the final for the final variable for this mathematical score, and print info, you see a change over here. If you see the mathematical score, the minimum value has become 0, whereas the maximum value has become 96. So that means now you have sorted with the minimum and the maximum value for mathematics. So that means here you see that here the mathematics score is, minimum score is this 0 and the maximum score is 96. That means you are able to, what you can say, remove that error, okay, of minus and this one. Same way what you will do over here, in the same way you will do for English scores, the science score, and for the number of hours that is there. Okay, so here you are putting a limit that number of hours should be greater than 0, and anyone can just read, okay, what you can say, maximum that person can study is 16 hours at the most. Okay, or you can put 15 also, whatever you feel like. And then you, when you take the describe, what you see over here, okay, that here now you see the minimum value. Now it is all changed properly. Okay, 0 hours, 0 hours. Okay, maximum values 24 hours. Okay, because in a day there are only 24 hours. Earlier it was given 40 hours. Is the screen visible now? I have reshared the screen. Is it still not visible? Is it not still not visible, guys? Okay, thank you. Now it's visible, huh? Yeah, thank you. So now you can see for yourself after you have performed this all these functions. Yes. Now if you see the dot describe, it tells you the entire story. Yes. What is the story? That now if you see the minimum value, the minimum value of ours is 0, and for mathematics score is 0. If you see the maximum scores, The maximum score for hours is 24 hours, which is correct. And the maximum score attained by a student in mathematics is 96. Similarly, if you see for English, it has come to what? 86 and 76, and all the minimum is 00. So that means now if you see, okay, now if you see for mathematics and all these things, science, so you have been able, what you can say, you have been able to correct, or you have been able to remove that, what to say, the error that was visible earlier. So by providing this range and fixing it, you are able to convert the data into a purest form. And when you are doing this, you just pay attention over here. Can anyone remember what was the total count earlier? Does anyone remember what was the total number of students or the data earlier it was? Anyone? Yes. Does anyone remember what was the total count? It was 267. Yes, Shaunak. And what is the total count now? It is giving to us 257. So that means there were 10 rows. That means there were 10 rows in my data set which was having some incorrect values, and when you have performed this operation, all those 10 rows have been removed, and now the data points or data sample says that it is 257. Okay, so this is how it helps you in clear, what you can say, the dot describes gives you the insights into, what you can say, the data. Correct. So now moving ahead, I think this was all done yesterday. Moving ahead to missing data. So what do you mean by missing data? Yeah. So missing means something where some gap is left. Okay. When you are not able to collect the data. Okay. That is what you mean. When you don't have data for everything, and you just put something else, that is what you are missing. For example, if you are required to count the number of letters delivered by a postman each day, you may have no data for the day on where it was, yes, when the postman was absent or he was on leave. क्या हो रहा है? Hold on, students. Yes, I know it's gone. I don't know what is happening today. There is some miss. Yeah. Hold on. There is some error, something. Wait, guys, wait. There is some technical error at the WebEx end. Because of that, we are facing this issue. Yes, so I'm just trying to fix it. Okay. Is it visible now? Great. Now the voice is. Hello. 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 Am I audible now? Okay, just let me share my screen again, and do let me know if it is visible or not, guys. And I'm sorry for the hiccups that are happening today. I hope it is all it is visible now. Is it visible? Yes or no? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get back quickly to this, and then we'll move to the ideation part. The small part of left part is left. That is your missing data. So missing data is something where some part of the data is not captured properly. Yes, they have just given you some literature over here which you can go through and read. Just they are trying to help you from this, guys. That what do you mean by a missing data? Like for example, are you able to provide some possible reasons why there may be missing data in the scenarios? Number of hours a teacher will spend in a day, number of phone calls an office worker receives, air temperature of your cities. So all these means like teacher may not remember the number of hours spent in a school. Okay, so if she is not remembering the number of hours, that will become a missing data for you. Call history may be deleted. Okay, or temperature sensor may not have collected data during the maintenance time. So that means when you are trying to collect a certain data, and if by any means or by any for any reasons that data is not available, yes, that becomes your missing data. And that missing data, okay, sometimes that missing data is referred as NaN value. NaN means which is not a number. Okay, now to represent this missing data, many a times the NaN word is used. Sometimes like in meteorological department or weather data, they also represent something with this, with some very big or very small value number, minus 999, something like this. Now this indicate this is not a data, but this is their, you can understand, there's something like code which tells them that this data is not available or it is the missing data. Okay, now they have given you a very good exercise to help you understand that how you can find out a missing data. Yes. Now here in this, the house prices. So as all of you know, basically that when you buy any house, the cost of the house is directly dependent on the number of rooms it has or the covered area. So here they are taking two parameters. Okay, one is house prices. Okay, one variable is house price, and the other is the number of rooms. That means house price is directly related to the number of rooms it has. Okay, that means they are linearly related, they are proportionally related. So here you have the price of the house where some values are np.nan, np.nn, that means these are the missing values. And then here you have number of rooms where you have np.nan, that is this is not known. Four room, 5 room, 6 room, 10 room, 12 room, 2 room. Okay, this is this. Now what you do here is, okay, so first of all, the data that is given and the price are given in US dollar. Number of room refers to this. Run the code and observe the output carefully. Make sure you have imported numpy. Okay, now since here we are dealing with the numerical analysis of the data, so you will be requiring np. Np means that is numpy. So what you are doing here, you are just trying to first understand Okay, the total number of data points in house prices, how many data points are there in this? Okay, and how many data points are there in this? So can anyone tell me how many data points are there in this, in house prices, and how many data points are there in the number of rooms? How many data points do you see in both the variables, house prices and number of rooms? Yes, 7. Okay, yeah. So we are, so if you see over here, so in this, if you count, how many total data points are there? One, two, three, 4, and 5. These are not your data points. Why? These are your missing values, and missing value is not your data point, because these are not the values which you will be using for your training purpose. Okay, so they are missing values, so they cannot become your data point. But how will you get to know exactly what is the number? For this, you are using this particular code. Okay, print total number of data points in house prices. We are using np.count. So this is the function. Np.count is a function which actually helps you to count all the non-zero values. Non-zero values means which are having certain value, which are not zero. And uh, inside this, you are also, what you are trying to find is nan. Np dot is nan. This will give you all those values which are nan values in house price variable. But before this, np dot is nan. Np dot is nan will give you the, which all are your how many are there are nan values. Before this, you are seeing one operator over here, this. Okay, the tilde type of operator. This is your not. This operator means not, which reverts your boolean logic. That means if your total value, if your value will come true, this operator will convert it into no. If your value will be yeah, false, it will convert into true. So using this, then you are counting it to now is nan house price. Okay, so for this, if you'll see, is this nan? Okay, so for this it will give false. Yes, this is nan, it will give you false, because all of us know this is not false. Yes, but when you are using this, it will convert into true. So when this will count non-zero number, so when this will be a true thing, yes, so it will read it as a number, because it becomes a non-zero number. So using this thing, same way, it becomes a non-zero number, it becomes a non-zero number, it becomes a non-zero. But for this, if you go by this, np dot is nan house underscore prices, yes it is. Yes, so it will say yes, because it is a nan number. But because of this operator, it will convert this into a false value. When it will convert this true into false, so when it will use the np dot count non-zero, so false means it will not consider this as a, what you can say, non-zero number. It will consider it as a nothing number. So when it will be using this np dot count, so you can see for yourself, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that means it gives you a 5 number over here. Similarly, if you see over here, it will count 1, 2, 3, 4. It will give you 6 number. So np dot count is a function which is used to count the number of, what you can say, uh, number of data points into it. Now that, what you can say, uh, this operator, which I'm highlighting, this means no or not. It, what you can say, converts a boolean into its reciprocal. They're not reciprocal, but reverts it. If it is a boolean is true, it will say false. If a boolean is say false, it will say true. Okay, just to help you understand once again, now before we count, we use this np.isNan, okay, to count, or to check whether this is a nan value or it is not a nan value. So when it runs on this, okay, so what it will say, np dot is it nan, so it will say false. Yes, because it is not false. Yes, but because of this, what it becomes, false will be converted into true. and when it will convert it into true, and now when it will run this function np dot count np0, so true means it will count it as 1. Same goes for this 2, 3, but when this function will come over here, so np dot nan is nan, so it is a nan number. Yes, so np dot is nan, it will say yes, it is nan value, but this yes will be converted into no because of this operator, and hence where the final thing will be what, np dot count underscore non-zero false. So that means it won't be counted as a number because this is giving it as a false, or it is showing that it is not a number, hence it won't be counted. So hence when it runs through, it will give you the total number values, or it has is 5 and 6. So once the data points are once you know the data points are there, okay, this is how you will get to know how many true values are there and how many nan values are there. Now when you plot the graph between these values, okay, so what you do, whichever corresponding index has value, okay, both the house prices and number of rooms, you consider that only. For example, you have the zero value over here, zero on the zeroth index. House price is 110,050 US dollar, but the zeroth index is npn, so we won't consider this when we will plotting the graph. Okay, so where you map it and you'll say 4 to first index, second index, third index is this, we are not considering 5, then this is fourth, we are considering this, fifth we are not considering, sixth we are so this is how when you get these values which are mapping with each other and you plot a graph over here, we see there is some linearity over there. That means as the number of rooms are increasing, the cost of the room is sorry, the cost of the house is also increasing. So the scatter plot shows direct relationship between the number of rooms and the, what you can say, your house prices. Okay, now if so, this is one way of understanding. Now this is an activity for all of you to think. Can you guess the correct number of the previous missing values? Replace the missing values with your guesses and plot the scatter plot. Now here, this what you did just now, in this activity you just got how many total valid values are there, okay, leaving the nan values. This activity gives you, is there any some relationship between the given values, okay, so you found out after plotting the map this one, that yes, there is, what you can say, a linearity between the price and the number of rooms. Now what they're asking you to do is, can you guess the correct values of the previous missing values? Okay, replace the missing values with your guesses and plot a scatter plot. So how, so that means how you can do it. Okay, now see what could be the correct missing value for this. So see, now if you have seen over here, listen carefully and then try to answer it. Now you know there is a certain relationship between the number of rooms and prices in USD. Yes, a room which is almost 4 room cost you almost 40,000 rupees. Yes, 5 room cost you 50,000. 10 room will cost almost a 100,000 US dollar. So what will be the price of one room? Approximate value. What will be the value of one room? Approximate. Anyone? Using that graph, okay, understanding that graph, what will be the 10,000? Absolutely, yes, so it will be a 10,000, correct? Absolutely. So now you know that one room costs 10,000. Now let's try to replace the value over here. One is given this 2 4, so this is so 1 0, so 6, this will be what, so 6 room will be equal to how much? I think it will be 60,000 over here. Then you have this 10 room values given over here, 12 room will be how much? It will be into 10, you will do it, so 1,20,000 something. So what they are trying to tell you is, just use your intelligent guess after understanding this and try to fix the value. So now see, they have put similar exercise, they have, wherever you had those nan values, understanding this graph, you are replacing those NaN values with these values. So, and then when you plot the graph, same way, you find that there is a straight line over here. That means there is a perfect linearity. There is a perfect correlation between number of rooms and number of graphs. Now, this was one way of handling your missing data. Now, the second way is very important. They say, and this way is, and this thing is primarily used where you replace the data by what, how you replace the data. That means where you use the mean values. And for this data, for this students, you have been provided a second data set known as students underscore two data set. Okay, so there are two data set that have been provided. One is score one and another is score two. So obviously what you are going to do, first you will upload the data using pd dot read dot csv. Okay, now every time if you are doing it for the very first time, remember what Sunita ma'am also said, if it is in the same notebook, run the entire cells from the very start, from where you have first what you can say imported pandas. Or the best way is like ma'am was doing yesterday. If you are doing this, okay, put a date in front of it, okay, like this, so that you know you are starting, and then you can import the libraries again. Let's say you are putting it here like this, 15.20, so you know this is the work you did on this day. So this is how you organize yourself. And then what you will do, before you perform this, you will have to first, okay, import like this, import pandas as pd. So what if you, now what you will do, if you don't want to run the notebook from the start, because when you keep working, notebook will get lengthy and lengthier. So it's a so sometimes scrolling up and down also causes error, because if I have to now go up, okay, so this is what, this is almost 11, so I will have to run all these codes whatever I have run. I cannot miss any one of the rows code where I have written. If any one of this, so it will give me an error. So the best thing is, if you are doing it in parts, if you're not doing it in a continuous way, just put a number as I have done, as ma'am was also telling, and then import that library again, and then here only run it, then you will be able to do it. Okay, this is one way of keeping yourself, your work as organized. Okay, so this was just I was telling you. Okay, you can just okay, now this I'm removing it because I'm just running at that code only. So the pandas is already imported from the beginning. Here you are uploading this data set, students underscore two. You are doing, performing the simple reading exercise by dot head function. You want to know what are the different columns, again the same columns, but numbers are different, data is different, and dot info will give you that how many values are there. So what you we see, the columns are same, five columns. Okay, all these things values are okay. Here what you can say, integers are there. There are all integers values, student. These are all float values, we can see by ourselves. So they are saying float, float, float. What is the interesting thing that you observe in this data after this? Can anybody tell me what interesting thing, interesting insight are you able to find out when we have done this dot describe and info function? What is that interesting thing? You have to run one at a time, not, you cannot run all at one time. First you have to run the first, second, like this, cell by cell. So my question over here is, in this, once you have done this, okay, non-null count is different. Very good. Very good calculation, Siddharth. So see, if you see very carefully over here, this data, these non-null values for arts, mathematics, and this is different. What does that mean? If there are total student is 387, if the total number of students in a class in a school are 307, so the data should be for 387. But when we have done the dot describe, sorry, dot head to understand the columns and dot info, we find that in number of hours, I think five data rows are missing or five data values are missing. Mathematics, four data points are missing. English again 5 data points, and similarly that means there is no, what you can say, uniformity in the data. There is some data point that are missing. Now how to, what you can say, solve this issue? Okay, because if you go with this data set and train your model, the performance will definitely be affected. So what you do, you use certain techniques to make it a consistent, you try to bring a uniformity across all. That means the volume of the data has to be similar across. So what you do, there are two ways to do. So as you can see, as Akhilesh and Siddharth rightly mentioned, dot info will have given this observation that for different columns, okay, the data point number of rows are different. That means the volume of is different. How can we handle this? So what we can do is, this plays a very important role here, over here, dot describe. Because using this dot describe, yes, what we are going to do, we are now understand the importance of this word, the mean. Okay, because see, the rows which are missing in mathematics, okay, 5 rows are missing, 4 rows, 5 rows are missing in time, 5 rows are missing in English, 5 rows are missing in, almost 4 rows are missing in science. But if you want to make the data uniform as 387, from where can we get these 3 or 4 data points? Yes, that is where students, when such case arises, okay, so there are two things. One, either, okay, what we do, we drop, okay, that is one way. That is, we drop using the drop.na function. Okay, drop na function, we drop the number of rows where the data points are not there, so that all the data rows become same, the total data becomes same. That's one way. Another way to make it all same, we use this mean, the average. Mean is the average. So what we do, we use a function known as fill, the mean value wherever the data is missing, because that will be the average. Okay. So we'll see both. Okay. So what are we doing? First, we will be using, we should remove, we are removing the missing values by rows, as each row represents a student only. Yes or no? Because it's student data. So what we do here, we have this df. Again, what we have done, we have created a variable df2. Here df dot drop na, x is equal to 0. So here what we are doing, we are dropping. But what are we dropping? X is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0 means what? What are we dropping? X is equal to 0 means what? First, null values, x axis first. X is equal to 0 is equal to means what? Ma'am told you yesterday, yes, and before also. If you are writing, whenever you write something, x is equal to 0, it means you are talking about rows. If you put x is equal to 1, yes, Akhilesh, x is equal to row 0 means you are talking about row. If you put x is equal to 1, that means you are talking about, x is equal to 1 means what? It will be a column, not first row. X is equal to 1 means it we are talking about the columns. You forgot that Jaipur weather data when you removed columns. So yes, so axis means where you are helping the model know, or Python or pandas know whether you are trying to work with the rows or the column. So if axis is equal to 0, that means you are, what are you drawing, what you're trying to drop, you're trying to drop a row. Okay, now see, this notebook is pretty easy. If you follow all the things are you, if you click on this link, yes, it will explain you the entire drop na function. Yes, so put print out now. Once you have run this code and you print, okay, the variable, to get the information for this, so you will see that now your information for all the rows are similar. That means all those values where no values was all those rows where there were no values, by using the function df dot drop na with rows x is equal to 0, all those rows in that particular for that particular column has been dropped, and now we see that the entire data has become uniform. So this is, so if you see over here, okay, total how many rows have been dropped? 14 students data has been dropped. 387 was the original data set. After performing the that drop na function, the missing value. So that means there was 14 students where we had some kind of data missing. Either the number of hours was missing, either the number of mathematics score was missing, or 14 such cases, and all those 14 cases have been removed by doing this drop na, and now we see our data is clean with all are having uniform 373. So this is a one way of cleaning the data. Now the another way of cleaning the data is that why, as they have as they are writing over here, it is easy to clean the missing values. Yes, now we sometimes do not do as the data set is very small. Yes, thus dropping those rows where the data is missing, it's easy. But then what happens, guys, that if you have a very small sample size, now and from that sample size also you remove or you drop these data, the sample size is reduced. And for training a model, you require a good amount of data. The sample size of the data should be good. So what is the other method that we don't have to reduce the data, is still we are able to remove these missing values, is where we, what you can say, use the method of mean or the average values, where we use, what you can say, whatever the average value of that total data set is there. So wherever those missing values are there, we fill those average values this, because how, so there will be a question someone may ask, why are we filling this average value? Because see, when you will fill this average value, it won't make any difference on to the overall average of the class. Okay, if it is a total sample size of 387 students, so when you take the average, whatever, so if you see the average is what, of mathematics is 35.4517. So and in this, if let's say out of this how many, four students data is missing, because it is 383 and it is 387. Okay, so now if you fill in that, in those missing four with, in those missing four students data, if you fill 35.41 and then you find the average of 387, it will be the same value only. Okay, are you getting my point or no? So this is how, when you fill the data with an average values, what happens is you don't have to reduce the volume of your data. You don't have to drop or remove any of the data set. That means there won't be any change in the volume of the data. If my data is, original data is 387, after I fill the non-existing values or the missing values with the average values, still the data will be 387. But we all of us saw that in the drop na, the rate data volume gets reduced, and this is not acceptable when you have a small sample size. I've already explained you, because training the model, if you want a good performance, better performance for the model, it has to be trained with a larger or a good size of data. So how do we do it? Okay, so what we do, let's say, so df3, so here we create a variable and we can copy the entire data set, the original data set, df what you have uploaded over here. Okay, you can using this function df dot copy bracket, the entire data set gets copied into the variable. Then you are trying to get the missing, before missing filling in the missing values, what my data looks like. So iska info, you get the info, then you fill the values. So df3 the score, df3 of this, and dot fill na the mean, dot mean values. So what you are using, you are using this function dot fill na df. Now df, this is the original data, okay, of mathematics score. You are taking the mean of the original data to fill in, you to fill in this df3. Yes. So df3 mathematics score dot fill na. Okay, how do you read this? The mean of original mathematical score filled to be filled in this df3 mathematics scores, and then after filling in, what you get the information. So see, this is before, this is what you are seeing over here, guys. This is because of this part. Once you have done this part and then you are filling it, okay, then you see that number of student is 387, and now you see the mathematics scores. The mathematics score is also 387. That means without dropping any row, you have been able to remove those missing values by filling the average or the mean value of the mathematical score that was there in the original data set. So this is how, this is the another way of how you fill in the, what you can say. Similarly, when you will do what you have done here, if you will do for English score, the science score, the R's, you will see that all will become similar, the information. That means now what you have done, you have been able to uh, fill in all the missing values, remove all the missing values with a certain data without reducing the data size. So this is the notebook which has already been shared with all of you. Some part was done yesterday by Sunita ma'am. The remaining part of missing data was left, which has been completed today. I hope that okay. I hope that this was clear to all of you. Yes. So now we are left with only some time. So today I will not be able to start the ideation process because it will take at least 35 to 40, 30 to 45 minutes, and I really want to take it slowly with all of you, because that this is the most important stage of your, for the success of your project. Okay, I have stopped sharing anything. Mokshit, I'm not sharing anything now. Okay, so that's why I don't want to rush up with the ideation process, because in it will take 35 to 40 minutes or more than. Okay, and really want to take it slow with all of you so that you understand what is ideation, because this will be very very helpful to all of you in ideating your problem statement. And I really want all of you to think creatively, imaginatively, out of the box, a very innovative and novel idea for your own project. Yes. So I will be taking this session on 17th, day after tomorrow. That is okay. So today I am sharing with you the attendance, and request all of you to fill in your attendance, and then you are free to leave the meeting. Okay.